So OTC desks. Woohoo.
Yeah, this has been big in the last. I mean, so all right. I'll talk a little bit about this. So we launched this in like the last 2 months, and this has taken off surprisingly pretty well, right, Zach? I mean, based off of the month of December, this has been pretty popular amongst our customers. What OTC stands for over the counter trading desk. And basically the way this works is you'd contact myself, you'd contact Zach, you contact someone directly from our team, and we will, it's kind of like a one-on-one white glove experience where you work directly with us to execute the transactions. This is primarily for, I guess you could say, customers that are executing transactions greater than, say, $10,000, greater than 25K, something like this.
Big money.
Yeah, so either for like, high net worth individuals or, like say small to medium sized businesses that need to acquire large amounts of stable coins or crypto or whatever asset that they're looking for. And they want that kind of one-on-one touch with, and they're also very, I guess you could describe them as like fee sensitive as well. So they want something with tight spreads. And that's kind of where it comes into play. So the way our OTC desk works is you go through the process of activating your account, linking your wallets, your bank accounts. So we need all of that information on file to execute the transactions. And then we would create a Telegram chat to communicate directly with our team, and you request a quote from us for the assets you want to buy. So what's great about our OTC desk is if you want to buy assets that are not natively supported from our platform, our website, you can do that, and we can try to pull a quote for you. So for example, if you wanted to buy some crazy asset off of, I don't know, like a decentralized exchange, like 123 pump token or something like this, I don't know, you can come up with whatever the name, you could do that. You want to buy large amounts of Bitcoin, you could do that as well, and request a quote for that. And then from that, we'll come back with you and we'll tell you, okay, we can execute the transaction at this price, at this token price, and we give you an all-in exclusive rate. There's no fee involved there at all. And yeah, and then if you agree to the price, you send the wire, and we execute the transaction and settle it directly to your wallet that we have on file. And this has been pretty big so far for a lot of our customers. What else, Zach?
December was a big month. That's all we can say.
So it's been very popular, and I have a feeling it's going to continue to increase in popularity as well. And yeah, no, I don't know, we're excited about this feature.
I feel like that's just been the topic of interest between Drew and I when it comes to the marketing side. And yes, so that's why I say it is Drew's favorite subject, because I feel like we talk about it 80% of the time.
Well, yeah, it's important.
Of course. Okay, what are the biggest myths about using crypto for everyday business payments? So every time, I'm talking to, whenever we go to conventions and stuff together as a team, I'm talking to, all these different founders, and, I mentioned like, oh, like, have you considered paying your team in crypto? And it's a 50-50. Like half of the time, like people are like, oh yes, I would love to do that. Or founders, they're like, I'd love to do that like eventually, or how do I get started? And then that's whenever I'd introduce them to you guys. But then I have the other side where they kind of hesitate a little bit, just because again, they kind of have this notion that it's a really long process. It's hard. It's not easily attainable to do. So if whoever wants to answer this question.
Do you want to take a stab at it, Zach? Or you want me to
sure. I'll take biggest myths. I can tell you the pain points of the other side is ACH transaction. So settlement times, right? So crypto has very fast settlement times versus like traditional ACH is like 3 to 5 business days. So when I get paid, if I get paid via ACH, I'm waiting, 3 to 5 days for money to hit my bank. Where if I were to get paid with USDC, it settles on chain within minutes, sometimes seconds, depending on the chain.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, the biggest myth that I think I've encountered is where people are just kind of maybe the word ignorant, and they just think that crypto is a scam. Like I've encountered a lot of people that just think, okay, stable coins aren't real. It's fake money. I get that a lot too. It's not real. And like to tell those people, like, I don't know, first of all, it is real. It exists. It's faster. It's cheaper. It's more efficient in many cases compared to the dollar. When it actually comes down to like the reality of using crypto for everyday business payments, I mean it varies depending on the asset. I would say, like for example, if you're going to pay someone in the United States, most people in the United States don't want to get paid in crypto just because it's a hassle for them. Like if you're paying your rent in dollars, then you need money in your bank account to make the payment. So that's where I think it's like, okay, that doesn't really, I don't know. There's kind of there's friction there until like we get more people
Yeah.
to actually use crypto as a payment network and have more money
Yeah.
on chain. It needs that distribution effect.
Yeah.
I think what really needs to happen for crypto or USDC payments in the United States is that there needs to be some innovation at the banking level. And I know some people are going to laugh at me saying that because banks are notoriously slow to innovate. But what we're going to see in the next couple of years is the big banks, JP Morgan, Chase, start to integrate crypto wallets alongside bank accounts. So what does this mean? So you could get paid in USDC, and it'll go to the bank that has those wallets, and then you could do a one-to-one swap or maybe an FX swap with some sort of fee. Maybe I don't know. Some exchanges do these one-to-one with no fees, but you get that swap right into your bank account. Does that make sense? Kind of like a Circle, kind of like working with Circle, but directly in your bank.
And you think that at that point, then it would make it easier for people to like pay your rent or something in crypto?
Absolutely, because then you could just use your bank to does your does your landlord accept USDC? No. Okay, well I'll just swap it into USD and then pay them. And then that also covers that settlement time too, that 3 to 5 business days for ACH. Well, just pay me in Solana on my bank wallet. Here you go, and I could just swap it into USD within a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
I await that day when you can just pay rent, like just like that with crypto. Like that'd be awesome.
I think, yeah, I don't know. From my personal perspective, I think banks are some of the slowest to innovate, and I don't think that day will occur anytime soon, unfortunately, where these banks will be spinning up wallets alongside, your bank account. What I do think would happen though is like these fintech neobanks will start to do that. That will probably come sooner than actual like JP Morgan or Bank of America spinning up these wallets. Even then, though, they've been slower to innovate than what I don't know. But there's some companies that I think like
as these
Rex.
neobanks grow, these like exchanges grow, so there's going to be some acquisitions here that'll allow those innovations.
Yeah, like with Revolut, for example, they started
Right.
offering features natively to inside of your Revolut bank account to use USDC or USDT alongside the other currencies.
So we're already seeing this, just not at the US side of things. So to
Yeah,
say.
Revolut's been quick to innovate too, which
They
is
have.
cool to see. But I
Would
don't
you
know, it's
classify
interesting.
Revolut as a bank or like one of those neobanks?
I would classify Revolut as probably as a neobank.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if they hold a banking license in all of the areas that they operate in. But yeah, I don't know. Other myths too. I think like another big myth. This is something that I used to think like people would use Bitcoin to pay for things. Like use Bitcoin to pay for your rent. From what I've seen and my experience personally, I don't think that's going to be the case. People are going to want to hoard your Bitcoin, similar to like the way they hold gold or like silver or something like this, and they're using it as a store of wealth. So it's not. I don't think Bitcoin is actually going to become a currency that people will use to pay for rent or coffee or food or dinner or buy a car with or something like this. It's but what I do could potentially see happening too is where you have people or maybe even governments taking fiat currencies, paper currencies, and backing them in Bitcoin, similar to like when the U.S. dollar was backed by gold, right? I do see maybe in the next few decades, potentially a country like even El Salvador. I don't know if El Salvador. No, I think El Salvador uses the U.S. dollar. But if like say for example, if El Salvador was going to issue their own fiat currency, they would probably back it in Bitcoin. So I don't know. It's become like a full circle moment, back to hard
Bitcoin's the
money.
new gold.
Yeah, I would probably, and like I think like a smart central bank, if they were to do this, would use a combination of Bitcoin along with some real gold or other commodity type of assets like this too.
El Salvador has 2 legal tenders, the US dollar and as of September 2021, Bitcoin.
Yes, but what I'm saying is like they would issue a fiat currency backed by Bitcoin.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I mean by that.
There's also the issue with Bitcoin is settlement times. On-chain settlement times are significantly longer than those of like some L2s like Solana or Polygon, which makes micro transactions not feasible with Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's a good point too that I think most people don't realize the reality of. Like with a credit card, right? When you swipe your credit card, that transaction's cleared right then and there. Whereas if with some of these currency or some of these blockchains like Bitcoin or I think Ethereum is another one where it has several
Couple minutes.
block times, and then there's I don't know, there's a few more too, right? Where it's not necessarily instantaneous like Solana or some of these other chains. Um, but basically what I'm trying to say is like it's gonna take time for that transaction to process and clear, where it doesn't necessarily make like it can't compete with a credit card.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Right.
you're not gonna pay with your crypto wallet and then wait 15 minutes to get your coffee. You're just not gonna do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're going through a drive-through or something, right, and you want to buy your McDonald's,
Can
and you
you
gotta wait
imagine?
15 minutes for 8 blocks to clear on the Ethereum blockchain before you can get your Happy Meal. I mean, that's just not going to work.
Oh my
So
God, the line. I could just picture the line.
yeah,
There might be some sort of like settlement third party that would take the risk of a transaction not settling, but at the charge of like a larger fee.
yes, that's something I could see taking place.
I could see that. Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Let me see. What do we have next? So I guess we kind of already explained this, but maybe we can expand upon it. But what does the future look like for crypto payroll and stablecoin settlements? So we talked about the myths. So now that we kind of debunked those, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, one take that I have on this for sure is I think we're going to see. I mean, we're going to see an increased amount of companies paying people in stablecoins, USDC, USDT for cross-border payments, international payments. So if like you have employees outside, if you have a company in the United States and you have employees outside of the United States or contractors or something like this, more and more of these businesses are going to be using USDC or USDT to send these payments overseas to Asia or Africa, Europe,
Mhm.
South America, whatever it may be, just because it's so efficient compared to sending an international wire or any of these other options out there that exist. So I think like I don't know, this is gonna continue to grow for sure.
And then once the sentiment warms up even more because people are accepting, like individuals, employees are accepting payments in stablecoins, we might start to see more B2B supply chain payments in USDC because the settlement times are so fast and efficient. You don't have to wait days for an international wire to clear, so to speak.
Yeah.
That this is we haven't seen this too much yet, but this will take off for sure.
Yeah, no, it is happening. I think but it's going to happen at an even bigger scale, I think,
At a
over
larger
the coming
scale.
years. Yeah, more and more companies are going to be doing this as their standard way of doing business versus
Mhm.
using like JP Morgan to send like a large wire or something like that. Um,
Mhm.
and even on the flip side of that, for like individuals, I think like that have families like abroad, like for example, I don't know if you have a family in South America or something like this, these people are gonna be using USDT. I don't know, USDT is very popular in South America, for example. So they're gonna be sending USDT back home to their family, and a lot of people already are doing this compared to
Definitely.
using like I think it's like MoneyGram or something like this. I'm blanking on the
Yeah,
company
MoneyGram
name.
sounds right. Western Union,
Western Union,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So more and more, individuals, people sending money overseas back home to their families will be using USDC, USDT.
I have a lot of friends in Mexico. Well, they live here, but they have family in Mexico, and they're responsible for sending money back to their families that still live in those countries. So I think that this would definitely make it a lot easier.
Yeah, I agree.
And then also, like, there's a higher demand. I feel like the crypto community, like in Mexico and South America, also it's growing. So I just think that it would be great if more companies just adopted, especially tech companies that are outsourcing their work. It used to be like to India, and it still is, but now they're moving more towards Mexico. So I just think that would just kind of expedite things even more when it comes to that. So
There are card companies that allow you to load crypto onto a card and you can go and pay. And these are like prominent in Latin America. Um, I don't obviously don't live there, but I've heard a lot of good things coming out of that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Oh, I have another take too on this. I think like long term, like all right. So for example, we use QuickBooks to do our payroll, right? Um, so I'm thinking like years down the line, um, in the background, QuickBooks could just be using USDC, USDT baked directly in, and like we won't even know that QuickBooks or any of these payroll provider companies are using stablecoins to actually do the settlements. Like it's just natively baked into these applications because it's just so much more efficient. And so I think that could be happening too, like over like similar to like the way Gmail works, right? There's so many email protocols that Gmail's built on top of that we don't even understand how it works. So I think like that's going to that type of play out or the way that technology is evolved is going to be very similar to the way stablecoins work, where it's just natively baked into these payment applications.
Just the rails of just how things work.
Yes, yeah,
Yep.
all the protocols will be just built in, and it will just look like a dollar or whatever
Yeah.
currency you're paying
Yeah.
in.
And you don't even have to think about it. It's just
Yeah.
the new system built in. So I believe this is the last question. How do cross-chain crypto payments work, and why does it matter for merchants?
I can answer the why it matters for merchants. I guess there's like two reasons. One of them is cost related, and then one is the actual like, does the person you're paying use the blockchain? Do you want? So I guess it's important to define too what a cross chain crypto payment means. So basically, there's dozens of blockchains in the crypto world, and you can have money on one chain. And it's not necessarily easy to convert it or move it to the other chain, right? Is that like a fair description, Zach, or do you want to
Correct.
add something to that?
There's liquidity fragmentation, right? So
Yes.
money is locked up. So an analogy is kind of like we can use fiat currency, right? So you have the Chinese yuan and you have the US dollar. How do you convert between the two, right? It's not so easy, right? Someone that is in China is going to want the Chinese yuan. They might not want the US dollar.
Yes. And
So
this same problem exists on the blockchain where there's dozens of blockchains, there's pockets of liquidity with different currencies and everything. So yeah, back to like why it matters for actual merchants is because if you have money on say Ethereum, but the person you want to pay only supports Solana, or I don't know, they only want Bitcoin, now you got to figure out how to get your money from Ethereum to Solana or Bitcoin, right? And it's this conversion process that can cause that creates a lot of friction and can cause excess fees and all of this other painful stuff. So that's a big piece as well. And then like it kind of boils down to my second point, which is like the cost effectiveness. So if you actually have to move or transmit money across these different blockchains, it can become expensive depending on the way you're doing it. Um,
there are
you know,
bridges in the past like Wormhole that have had, errors, bugs, so to say, and there was hacks that resulted in millions or maybe even billions of dollars lost. So
yes.
it's really important to get cross-chain transfers done correctly. A big help in this is Circle. So Circle is the issuer of USDC, and they have something called CCTP or Cross-Chain Transfer Protocol, where say you have USDC on Ethereum, you need to get it to Solana, you can use CCTP to burn that USDC on Ethereum and then mint that USDC onto Solana. So it's kind of like a bridge, so to speak, that is for USDC. You can just move value
Yes.
between the blockchains.
And I think, to I think it's important to add too. So like in these examples of like Wormhole or any of these other traditional DeFi bridges, they have these smart contracts that you send money into, and it locks money here and then disperses money on the other chain. But the money is still like locked here, so it still exists. So it becomes a target. If you have like hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in a smart contract on chain, hackers are going to try to target that contract to exploit it. Um, versus kind of what Zach's describing with CCTP, what makes it so
Correct.
efficient is the money is not locked here, it's released. Where the money actually exists is in treasury bonds on Circle's balance sheet, which makes it very, very safe. It's like someone's going to have to break into the bank, and if everything's backed by the Federal Reserve government, come on, it's much safer from that perspective. And CCTP is also decentralized as well, so like anyone can plug and play right into this to execute these swaps and use it for transactions or moving money across chains.
Drew is exactly spot on. So that there's another thing that Drew's talked about with Wormhole was that the funds are held, but they exist on the other chain. These usually exist in wrapped form. So that's why you see like wrapped Ethereum or wrapped Bitcoin. So if the source of the funds is targeted, what happens to the value of the wrapped coins on the other chain?
Yeah, and
That's
another important thing to add too is, so like even Circle's CCTP doesn't handle all blockchains, right? I think it's maybe a dozen, maybe a little bit more than a
I think it's
dozen
more
at
than
this
that.
time.
It's like
Um,
19 or something.
yeah, so it's like it's the big ones, right? It's like Ethereum, the EVM blockchain, Solana, some different blockchains like
XRP.
this, XRP, but it's not like Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin you have a very hard time using Bitcoin talking to the rest of these blockchains. The only way to efficiently move money from, say, the Bitcoin blockchain to these other ecosystems that we're describing is going through like a centralized entity like us, or like a centralized exchange, where we have like basically like liquidity reserves in dollars that we can like pull money in and out of to route it cross chain in the most efficient way possible. It really depends on what you're trying to do and the way you're trying to move the money. I mean, one of the great things about us is like we will handle all of this headache and all of this friction for you. So we use our algorithm to find the best way to route the money in real time. If we need to use CCTP, we will. If we need to go through a centralized source to get you that currency, we can do that too. And we try to make it as efficient as possible, basically.